Have you ever wondered why women push away men they deeply care for? Ah, the enigma of human relationships. We find ourselves in the perplexing realm of attraction and rejection, love and fear. This fascinating paradox is not as uncommon as you might think. In fact, many women find themselves pushing away the very men they hold dear, leaving their partners in a state of bewilderment and hurt. But why does this happen? Well, we've identified 10 key reasons behind this behavior. These range from fears of vulnerability and issues of self-worth to past traumas and overwhelming emotions. Some women may even distance themselves as a means to protect their loved ones from personal struggles. It's a complex web of psychological nuances that we'll be exploring in this video. So, buckle up and prepare to delve deep into the human psyche. Stay tuned as we unravel the mysteries behind this puzzling behavior. Firstly, the fear of vulnerability often causes women to push away those they care for. Much like the soldiers of the Battle of Gettysburg, who faced a turning point in the American Civil War, individuals in relationships also face pivotal moments where they must decide whether to retreat or advance. Vulnerability is the emotional battlefield upon which these decisions are made. It's the exposure of one's deepest emotions and fears, the baring of the soul. In the context of a relationship, being vulnerable means opening up to the possibility of deep emotional wounds. Much like the soldiers face the threat of physical wounds, it means trusting another with the raw, unvarnished truth of who you are, with all your strengths and weaknesses. It's a leap of faith, a risk. And just as the soldiers feared the enemy's bullets, women often fear heartbreak. This fear can create a defensive mechanism, causing them to withdraw emotionally, to retreat from the battlefield of love, to push away even those they care deeply for. This fear of vulnerability, this dread of emotional exposure, can be a daunting hurdle in relationships. It's a paradox of wanting closeness, yet fearing the very intimacy that brings it. It's a battle that must be recognized, understood, and gently navigated for love to truly flourish. Fear of vulnerability can be a daunting hurdle in relationships. Next, feelings of unworthiness often lead to self-sabotage in relationships. Now let's delve into this complex issue of self-worth. It's not uncommon for individuals, especially women, to grapple with feelings of unworthiness. These deeply ingrained insecurities can stem from numerous sources: past failures, societal expectations, or even harsh words from someone significant in their past. When these feelings of unworthiness infiltrate a love relationship, they can lead to self-sabotage. Why? Because at a deep level, the person believes they are not deserving of love or happiness. They may start to distance themselves from their partner, expecting rejection before it even happens. This distancing is not a reflection of their partner's worth, but a mirror of their own perceived unworthiness. It's a form of self-protection, a way to avoid the hurt they believe is inevitable. Understanding this can be the key to navigating such situations with empathy. It's critical to remember that these actions are not about the partner being pushed away, but about the person doing the pushing and their struggle with self-worth. Insecurities and self-worth issues can indeed create an emotional barrier. The fear of losing one's identity can also lead to emotional distancing. This is a concern many of us face when embarking on a new relationship. Independence, the ability to be self-reliant, to make decisions for oneself, is a cornerstone of our identity. It's a part of who we are, and it can be scary to think of losing that. In relationships, there's a delicate dance between independence and intimacy. On one hand, we crave the closeness, the sharing of lives that comes with a deep, meaningful relationship. On the other hand, we fear that this very closeness might consume us, erase the individual characteristics that make us who we are. This fear can make us push away, create an emotional distance as a safeguard for our independence. It's not a rejection of the partner, but a protective measure for the self. And it's not about being alone or isolated, but about maintaining a sense of self within the shared space of a relationship. Learning to balance this act, to be independent and intimate at the same time, is a crucial part of any successful relationship. It's about understanding that closeness doesn't mean losing oneself, but rather enriching our own lives with the life of another. Preserving one's identity while being in a relationship can be a tricky act to balance. Past experiences and traumas can significantly impact a woman's behavior in relationships. Just as the Battle of Gettysburg left an indelible mark on the American psyche, past betrayals and heartbreaks too leave deep scars on the hearts and minds of individuals. These experiences often lead to the development of defensive mechanisms, walls built to protect oneself from the pain of future heartbreaks. A woman who has been hurt before may fear the repetition of that pain and thus instinctively pull away from deep connections. She may subconsciously perceive emotional investment as a risky venture, a battlefield strewn with potential emotional landmines. This is not a conscious choice of rejection. Rather, it is a subconscious attempt to avoid the pain of potential heartbreak. The past can cast a long shadow, influencing present actions. But understanding this allows partners to respond with empathy and patience, slowly helping to dismantle those defensive walls and fostering a stronger, healthier connection. Sometimes creating distance can be a subconscious way to measure a partner's dedication. It's a nuanced aspect of human psychology, a subtle dance that plays out silently in relationships. The idea is not to create a divide, but to gauge the lengths to which a partner is willing to go to bridge that gap. It's a test of resolve, a measure of the strength of the bond. This behavior often manifests as emotional withdrawal, creating a perceived distance. The individual tests the waters, watching to see if their partner will recognize this change and respond. It's a silent plea for reassurance, a need for the partner to demonstrate their commitment to the relationship. However, it's crucial to note that this is not a manipulative tactic, but rather a subconscious act driven by uncertainty, fear, or previous experiences. It's a protective mechanism, an instinctive response from a person seeking to understand the depth of their partner's commitment. Remember, it's not about pushing the other person away, but about seeking confirmation of their willingness to stay, even when things get tough. Tests of commitment can sometimes lead to emotional withdrawal. The intensity of feelings can sometimes lead to an emotional retreat. Love, in its purest form, is all-consuming, and for some, the sheer intensity of these emotions can be overwhelming. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, staring at the vast expanse of the ocean. That's how immense and all-encompassing love can feel. It's beautiful, it's profound, but it's also terrifying. This fear can trigger a retreat, a step back from the edge. It's not that the love isn't there, it's that the depth of the emotion is so substantial it's almost too much to bear. It's like trying to hold the ocean in your hands. You can't, it's too vast, too deep, too powerful. This retreat isn't a rejection of the person they love, but rather an attempt to process and understand these overwhelming emotions. It's a journey inward, a deep dive into the self to make sense of what they're feeling. Remember, love is a powerful force. It can lift us to the greatest heights, but it can also scare us with its intensity. In the face of such powerful emotions, retreating can seem like the only option. But it's important to remember, this retreat is not a rejection. It's a pause, a moment to breathe, to understand, and to come to terms with the overwhelming power of love. Dealing with intense emotions can indeed be a roller coaster ride. Sometimes women push away to shield their partners from personal struggles. This is a profound act of love, stemming from the desire to protect those they care about from the chaos that might be brewing within themselves. It's not about hiding secrets or living a double life, but rather about a selfless decision to bear the burden alone, to prevent it from casting a shadow over the relationship. It's like a mother bird nudging her chicks off the edge of the nest, not out of rejection, but to protect them from predators. Similarly, some women distance themselves not out of a lack of love, but out of a deep-seated desire to shield their partners from emotional turmoil. This can be a complex and confusing behavior to understand. But at its core, it is a testament to the strength of her feelings and her willingness to sacrifice for the sake of the relationship. It's essential to approach these situations with empathy and understanding, respecting her decision while offering support. Remember, just as the sun sometimes hides behind the clouds to protect the earth from its intense heat, love can sometimes mean keeping a safe distance. Doubts about commitment or conflicting feelings can also cause hesitation in relationships. Picture this. You're standing on the edge of a precipice. Beyond the edge, the future stretches out, vast and unknown. It's exciting, but it's also terrifying. This is a scenario many women find themselves in when faced with deep feelings for someone. Uncertainty about the future can cause a woman to pull back, to create distance. She might wonder, is this the right person for me? Can I see myself with this person in 5, 10, or 20 years? These questions can foster doubt, leading to hesitation. She might also be grappling with conflicting feelings. On one hand, she cares deeply for this person, but on the other, she fears what committing to them might mean for her future. This uncertainty is not a reflection of her feelings for her partner, but rather her own fears and doubts about the future. It's a protective mechanism, a way to guard against potential heartbreak or regret. So when faced with a partner who seems distant or unsure, remember that it might not be about you. It might be about her own uncertainties and fears. Uncertainty can indeed be a formidable stumbling block. Finally, experiencing profound emotions for the first time can be intimidating, leading to withdrawal. The fear of deep love, it's a complex emotion that's as thrilling as it is terrifying. It's like standing on the edge of a cliff, staring at an ocean of feelings, a depth that's both alluring and intimidating. It's not just about the fear of falling, but also the uncertainty of the dive's outcome. Just as the Battle of Gettysburg was a turning point in the American Civil War, the fear of deep love can be a turning point in a relationship. It's a battle within oneself, a struggle between the desire to plunge into the depth of love and the fear of being consumed by it. This fear isn't necessarily a fear of the person loved, but more a fear of the intensity and vulnerability of the love itself. The fear of deep love can be likened to President Abraham Lincoln delivering the Gettysburg Address, emphasizing the principles of equality and democracy. Like Lincoln, a person in love must confront their fears, acknowledging their emotions and vulnerably expressing them, embodying the principles of honesty and transparency. It's important to remember that this fear isn't a sign of weakness or a lack of love, but rather a testament to the depth and intensity of the feelings involved. The fear of deep love can indeed be a paradox. In conclusion, emotional distancing is often a protective mechanism rather than outright rejection. We've explored the complex reasons behind this behavior: fear of vulnerability, self-worth issues, concerns about losing independence, the scars of past traumas, the subconscious testing of a partner's commitment, the intensity of overwhelming emotions, the desire to protect loved ones from personal struggles, uncertainty about the future, and the fear associated with deep, profound love. These are not reasons for despair, but rather opportunities for understanding. By recognizing these patterns, we foster patience and reassurance. We create space for open communication, which in turn strengthens our emotional connections. Remember, the heart is not a battlefield like Gettysburg, but a place for love and unity. It's essential to approach these situations with empathy, not judgment. After all, understanding why a woman pulls away allows partners to respond with compassion and support, paving the way for deeper intimacy and trust.